All right, ladies and gentlemen, we only got one reaction to do today, and it's Jujutsu Kaisen because my hero is on break and One Piece is still on break. So let's go ahead and get the formalities out of the way, shall we? Yo, peoples, Kyushu92 here. And if I don't see you guys tomorrow, I am. Wait, actually, 4th of July is on a Tuesday, so I can't say that, but yeah, so sorry. Ogata, good to see you as well. It's a momentous day, not just because we're getting a brand new chapter of Jujutsu, but also today marks a full year that I have been running my YouTube channel full time. A full year since I left my last job and decided to pursue this as a full career. It's been a year, a whole year. It's like, wow. Part of me didn't think I would have lasted this long. Like, I was very hopeful in the beginning. And I was like, let's see how this goes. But as I kept doing it, I just kept getting more and more comfortable to the point where it was like I wasn't even paying attention to the amount of days that passed. And I was just enjoying life, and I was enjoying my peace, enjoying my happiness. I'll go in depth when I make a video about me going it being a year. I'll work on that after I'm done with this. But for right now, we need to focus on Jujutsu. But before we do that, I just need to say to everyone, thank you for supporting me, helping support me over all these months. This full year that I decided to go full time. Your encouragement, your compliments, your words of genuine, encouragement and everything else. I just want to say thank you for all of that. Let's begin with today's new chapter of Jujutsu. And it doesn't look like we're going on break. So let's begin with chapter 227. And we get like a big color page, spread page of Sukuna up against Gojo. But last we left off, Gojo was subjected to Sukuna's domain expansion. And not only did he get cut in the neck, but he got cut pretty much all over his body. So he was just subjected to Malevolent Shrine's guaranteed hit. Sometimes he would use Simple Domain to negate that, and he was using Reverse Curse technique to keep himself healed up, even when Sukuna was just going ham on him and just utterly just cutting up Gojo's body. But one thing that really didn't stick out to me until after the fact was the fact that Gojo was using Reverse Curse technique to not only keep himself healed, but also to have his curse techniques return to him faster, because both Sukuna and Gojo use their domain expansions at the same time. And how it works with domain expansions is that for the average curse user, they are unable to use any of their curse techniques after a domain expansion has dissipated. So Gojo was basically using Reverse Curse technique in order to for lack of a better term, recharge his curse techniques, which allowed him to hit Sukuna with Curse Technique Reversal Red and send him flying directly into Malevolent Shrine, with him saying like that wasn't easy. So, now we get to see what happens in today's chapter. Chapter 227, Inhuman Makyo, Shinjuku Showdown Part 5. And it just shows Sukuna's domain expansion still in the center of the area where he and Gojo are fighting, while Mei's crows are around surveilling everything, seeing everything go down. Did he use Reverse Curse technique to heal his burnt out curse technique? And then it cuts to Kusakabe, who's talking to Yuta. Okotsu! I can't say it's impossible. After all, he just did it. Burning out a curse technique with a domain is completely different from taking physical damage. If a machine isn't broken but overheats, it won't function properly, so you have to wait for it to cool down. And then Maki chimes in. So, Reverse Curse technique can fix something, but it can't cool it down? That's what I thought, but maybe I was wrong. Or could it be Gojo may be pushing way beyond his limits? And then it cuts to Gojo just staring at Sukuna, who's in the crater of Malevolent Shrine, because Malevolent Shrine is in the middle of a crater because it carved out that big hole in it. You can go bigger than this, right? As Gojo just looks at him. And then Sukuna thinks, oh wait. It cuts the narration. The moment Sukuna tried to expand Malevolent Shrine's effective range to the maximum, Kusakabe, no way! What is he thinking? Gojo opened his domain again. Unlimited Void. And then it cuts to, and then, wow, they're just clashing with domain expansions. Again! He's doing the same thing? No, and then it cuts to, what is her name? Not Choso, but, crap, I forgot the lady's name who's able to do reverse curse technique back at Jujutsu, I forgot her name. But she goes, no, he's smarter than that. And then it cuts to Mei. I see. It's not breaking right away this time. Did he reverse the barrier's internal and external conditions? In other words, this barrier, it's strong against external attacks. But how can he change conditions so easily? So Gojo basically just changed Unlimited Shrine so that the outside effects of Gojo just changed not Unlimited Shrine, but Gojo just changed Unlimited Void so it's not affected by Malevolent Shrine from the outside. I didn't think such a concept was possible. Being able to make it so that your domain expansion is not affected from the outside from a domain expansion that can affect the outside. He's adapted his own domain expansion so that Sukuna's can't dissipate it. And then it cuts to Malevolent Shrine in the middle of Unlimited Void. How about a do-over? And then it cuts to Sukuna and Gojo fighting each other. And as it cuts to Sukuna fighting Gojo notices something. Seriously? Sukuna can amplify with the domain open? So Sukuna is able to use domain amplification, which is an ability that allows you to affect... Matter of fact, let's bring it up here. Domain amplification. It's an anti-domain technique that envelops the user in their domain to neutralize any opposing curse technique or domain expansion they come in contact with. So that's basically what domain amplification is. So even though Gojo made it so that his unlimited... Shoko! Thank you! Her name is Shoko. Thank you, Ogata. So Sukuna basically just made it so that even though Malevolent Shrine isn't able to dispel Unlimited Void from the outside, him using domain amplification allows him to not be affected by Unlimited Void's guaranteed hit on the inside. Seriously? Sukuna can amplify with the domain open? Is he used to this? His output's ramping up. During amplification, you can't use innate techniques, which are engraved in flesh. But curse techniques that have already been amplified to the domain are another story. And then Sukuna is smiling, but then his smiling disappears as he's staring at Gojo. And then Gojo almost hits him, but Gojo keeps dodging. Gojo keeps dodging everything that Sukuna tries to hit him with. But so what? And then he's right behind... And then it cuts to Gojo, who's behind Sukuna, as he lands one solid blow, because Gojo lands a solid blow on Sukuna's side, and then he appears right behind him, and then Gojo notices, huh? Sukuna's can't miss attack is turned off, inside my domain. And then it cuts to Sukuna. Who's right on the back of Gojo leaning onto him. And then we cut to Kenjaku, who says, Unlimited Void affects everything but Gojo himself, and anything touching him. I have already experienced it. And another example of Kenjaku, Geto experiencing Unlimited Void and not being affected by it, is also Yuji, which is why when he was in contact with Yuji when Gojo was fighting Jogo, Yuji was not affected by Unlimited Void. So, the only people who are immune to Unlimited Void is Gojo himself and anything touching him. So Sukuna basically learned that and is now pressed up against Gojo so that his unlimited void can't affect him. I have already experienced it. In order to destroy Gojo's domain from the outside, Sukuna focuses his effective range compared to Shibuya, thereby boosting power. The binding vow for negating malevolent shrines can't miss command inside Gojo's domain further increased power outside the domain, and Sukuna survived unlimited void by touching Gojo. Once again, and then it cuts to unlimited void once again being dissipated from the outside. Satoru Gojo's domain crumbled. Need another do-over? As Gojo launches back from Sukuna after getting cut multiple times. And then it cuts to Yuji. What? Sukuna must have changed domain conditions too. And then it cuts to Kinji, who goes like, hey, I'm up next if he dies. And then it cuts to the lightning dude going, don't interfere. And then it cuts to Sukuna, who's surprised to see that even though he cut Gojo, the cuts are shallow. Shallow cuts. I learned it as a kid, but stopped using it after mastering a domain. Not bad, huh? Huh? That's falling blossom. That's falling blossom emotion. What's that? Don't know. No idea. Beats me. How come only Atsuya knows this stuff? It's an anti-domain technique known only to the big three families. Then why do you know it? It's a cursed energy control program for automatically repelling anyone who touches it. There isn't much point against a complicated curse technique, effective like unlimited void, but it's quite useful against a simple curse technique like Sukuna slashes, and unlike simple domain, it doesn't get stripped away. But it can't withstand domain output without some injury. And Shoko goes, which would be enough. Gojo can heal while burning out. He just needs time. Really? And then Gojo once again goes, domain expansion. Again? No, this time, it's gonna be huge. Is he trying to use a barrier to swallow Sukuna's entire effective range? Again, how is he changing conditions? What's the point of being invincible from the outside if he loses inside? And then the domain, his domain extends, but then it shows the barrier of unlimited void expanding, and then it stops and it chips off. And then Kirara goes, didn't it work? And then the lightning dude goes, wait, the barrier is super tiny. So Sukuna and Gojo have been engulfed inside of Gojo's unlimited void, and Gojo has managed to shrink unlimited void down to a small size, swallowing himself, Sukuna, and Malevolent Shrine inside. I think Gojo just basically condensed unlimited void down to a smaller size, so that Sukuna's effective range is smaller now. Ooh, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Hold on, let me bring this up again. And let me go to the newest chapter. That's actually interesting. Gojo is still keeping up with Sukuna, and Sukuna is keeping up with Gojo. Neither one is fully relenting. I doubt they would have anything up of the newest chapter because they don't even update the old ones. Yep, I was right. They don't even update the old ones. Satoru Gojo and Sukuna's battle defies all logic and reason as each of them continues to push past all previously defined limits. For each momentum shift, there is an equal and opposite force to counter it until Satoru is forced to do something even more unexpected. Basically, shrinking down his own domain expansion with him and Sukuna inside. That's interesting. So the big key takeaways from this entire chapter is the fact that Gojo, anytime he tries to use Unlimited Void, Sukuna and Gojo are modifying the conditions of their own domain expansions so that it is able to contend with the other. And doing so pretty much keeps having this unstoppable force meets an immovable object each time. Both Sukuna and Gojo are showing new levels to their already thought to be astronomically large power, and the bar just keeps getting raised. Like, Gojo is able to use a curse technique that is able to make it so that that Sukuna's malevolent shrine slashes are incapable, or at least just his regular slashes in general, are incapable of being grievous wounds, only just shallow cuts, which is apparently such a secret technique that only the bigwigs of the three families themselves know of this technique. So now we're seeing a brand new technique from Gojo. Brand new technique from Gojo that allows him to be resistant to Sukuna slashes, which, if you want to remember, are capable of adjusting themselves to the density of the individual and the curse level and the cursed energy level of the person. So Gojo is able to take a technique that is capable of adapting to his already overwhelming power and injure him and cut into him. He's pretty much made it so that he's resistant to that now, so it's not even as powerful as it used to be. It's just shallow cuts now. It's no longer deep body flaying cuts. It's just like shadow cuts, like paper cuts at this point. And even after trying to use domain expansion and extending it to a far greater range than he normally does, apparently he's changed his mind and shrunken down his domain expansion so that it's not spread out, but condensed into a very small size. The size of the domain expansion that Gojo and Sukuna are inside right now is far smaller. It's not even as big as Gojo was, because if we look at the size of this crater, Malevolent Shrine was already huge. Now, basically, his domain expansion has shrunken to the size of your average workout exercise ball. It's like a very big beach ball. It's now that size. So the question is this something new from Gojo that he just learned? Like, being able to extend your domain expansion is one thing. That doesn't surprise me. But shrinking your entire domain down to an even smaller size than normal, I don't think we've ever seen a domain expansion this size. It's always been like these big floating orbs, black orbs from the outside that are just absolutely massive, waiting on someone to dissipate it from the inside or for the person inside to dispel it. But I've never seen a domain expansion that's smaller than the people who actually cast it. So I didn't even think that was possible. And everyone is just wondering, like, okay, every single time that Gojo tries it. And here's the thing. When it comes to domain expansions, we have all... Oh, here's the thing. Hold on, let me bring it up here. Domain expansion. There's only a certain amount of times that a person can use a domain expansion. And Gojo has been shown that he's capable of using his own domain expansion multiple times. But this man has used his own domain. This man is able to use his own domain not once, not twice, but 3 times in this whole chapter with absolutely no sign that he's tired. Like, he tries to use it against Sukuna after saying you can go bigger than this, right? While Sukuna tried to extend his malevolent shrine even further. That's the first time he used it in this chapter. And I'm looking. Oh no, he only used it twice. He only used it twice. I thought it was 3 times, but he only used it twice. Well, actually, no. That I gotta count the other time he tried to use domain expansion. I gotta count the other time. He's used it not once, but twice, but 3 times. Ever since he started fighting Sukuna. Not just in this chapter, but the entire time he's been fighting Sukuna. He's used his domain expansion 3 times thus far. And he hasn't shown any sign of being tired. And we don't know how many more times he can pull it off. But for the average person, you're only able to use like a domain expansion maybe about once a day. Like, let me go down here. Drawbacks. So right here, a high risk, high reward maneuver. Domain expansion provides a great advantage at the cost of an immense amount of cursed energy. Satoru Gojo is considered to be one of the only individuals that can use domain expansion multiple times in one day. At that time, we didn't know how many times, but clearly he's able to use it more than 3, because I highly doubt 3 is the absolute limit he can use it. Kinji Akari is only capable of casting it repeatedly after hitting his domain jackpot to replenish cursed energy and stabilize his cursed technique. Even if the barrier or the environment aren't fully formed, casting domain expansion will cause the user's innate technique to become unstable for a short time afterwards. Attempting to use cursed techniques during this period will cause them to burn out and fail to activate. So, this is just Gojo full-on showing that he's capable of using his domain expansion multiple times in a single instance. Well, multiple times within a singular fight. And the fact that he's tried to use domain expansion twice, while at the same time using reverse curse technique to heal his own technique so he can still use them. This dude is on NASA level computing power in terms of using multiple moves consistently. Like he's using his 6 eyes and the limitless to the limit, even though this chapter basically said that they keep breaking and surpassing their limits, their supposed limits that they had beforehand. Gojo just keeps coming up with something that allows him to still mess with Sukuna. And Sukuna still, I mean, the only real injury he's had this entire fight was Gojo hitting him directly in the face with Curse Technique Reversal Red. And that's the only mark that Sukuna has been shown to have during this whole fight. Yet, and it shows that Gojo is covered in scars. He is literally, his once flawless, untouched skin is now just covered in cut marks all over his body. And yet, he's still able to keep up with Sukuna. But it all leads down to Gojo somehow shrinking his domain expansion to a miniature size, to a size that's smaller than an average human can fit inside, let alone 2 whole grown dudes. And a whole shrine, because Malevolent Shrine is in there. All that's left is just the crater where Malevolent Shrine went off, and then the domain expansion of Gojo that's just floating in the middle. So my question is, what did he do, and what is this? What is he doing to his own domain expansion for it to shrink? Extending it, we've seen with both Sukuna and clearly Gojo, because he was willing to extend it well past its known. I mean, we don't even know the full extension of how far Unlimited Void actually goes, but he went as far as extending it and then condensing it. So my thing is, what does this do aside from shrinking? Does it make it so that if he's here's my theory, because I thought about this while I was looking at it. My theory is that if you stretch out your domain, it makes it more susceptible from the outside. It's like blowing up a balloon. It's thickest when it doesn't have any air in it. But as soon as you start to put air into it, it starts to stretch, and thus the protective area of the balloon itself starts to thin out, thinner and thinner, where all it takes is just a little bit of force for it to pop. What I'm thinking is that Gojo has shrunk his entire domain expansion with him and Sukuna inside, thereby condensing the outside, making it so that Sukuna's Malevolent Shrine is not capable of destroying it from the outside, because he's essentially making his domain expansion tougher from without. That's what I think he's doing. Because it's like, and I also think of Bartholomew Kuma's Ursa Shock, where he's able to take this big, ginormous air bubble and then condense it down until it's like in his hands, and then launch it forward, only for it to explode into like almost a nuclear blast, where it's just condensed power in on itself until it just explodes, and then everything that gets caught up in it is just absolutely blown away. So that's what I think Gojo just basically did here. He's taken his domain expansion and shrunken it down and condensed it so that Sukuna will have a harder time trying to dissipate it from within. That's what I think he's done. That's the only thing that comes to mind. And seeing as how the only way that Sukuna can, protect himself from Unlimited Void is basically by touching Gojo, he's also capable of using domain amplification so that the instant hit of domain of his unlimited void doesn't actually affect him. Like if we go back here, seriously, Sukuna can amplify with the domain open. Is he used to this? His output's ramping up. So right here, it shows that Sukuna's power is increasing during this whole fight. During amplification, you can't use innate techniques, which are engraved in flesh, but curse techniques that have already been applied to the domain are another story. And it just shows them continuing to fight each other, while Sukuna actually manages to get hit. But Sukuna's can't miss attack is turned off inside his domain. As it shows that he's capable, all he has to do, because Kenjaku says Unlimited Void affects everything but Gojo himself and anything touching him. In order to destroy Gojo's domain from the outside, Sukuna focuses his effective range compared to Shibuya, thereby boosting power. The binding vow for negating malevolent shrines can't miss command inside Gojo's domain further increased power outside the domain. And Sukuna survived Unlimited Void by touching Gojo. Once again, Satoru Gojo's domain crumbled. This is interesting. This whole matter is interesting. Something like that, this is still a lot to take in. Yeah, it is a lot to take in. And we're not going on break either, which should, I really hope we find out, I really hope we get an explanation as to what Gojo actually did to his own domain expansion for it to actually shrink down. That's interesting. So we're seeing a brand new trick from Gojo. And we've already said this, but we already knew that Gojo wasn't just gonna roll up in there and curse technique reversal red and curse reverse curse technique and then blue curse technique lapse blue and then hollow purple and then unlimited void. We all knew that we were gonna see something brand new from Gojo, and now we're getting it. Not only that, but he also showed a new move that was only known to like the higher ups of the three big families, which is a move called falling blossom emotion, which basically allows a person to negate the effects of cursed techniques. Well, actually, hold on, right here. It's right here. Falling blossom emotion. It's an anti-domain technique known only to the big three families. It's a cursed energy control program for automatically repelling anyone who touches it. There isn't much point against a complicated curse technique effect like Unlimited Void, but it's quite useful against a simple curse technique like Sukuna's Slashes. And unlike Simple Domain, it doesn't get stripped away. But Gojo still gets hit from this technique. Alright, I'm done. I gotta think about this. I gotta think about this chapter and see what other people think of this entire chapter, especially with Gojo basically shrinking his domain, which is something we've never seen. We've never seen domain expansions actually shrink down. We've seen a domain expansion that can be brought into the actual real world, which is Malevolent Shrine, and we have the regular domain expansions, which we've seen from the outside, that no one can enter, but only the person on the inside can, make someone leave. Because that's like how normal domain expansions work. But this is the first time we've ever seen a domain expansion actually shrink in size. Should be interesting to see where we end up with next week's chapter. But I'm done, ladies and gentlemen. This was a good chapter, but it just left me with so many questions as to what Gojo's actually doing to his own domain expansion. Like, I got a lot of questions. But we got no choice but to wait. Everyone is literally waiting to see what's going to happen. And since Gojo and Sukuna are inside this condensed unlimited void domain expansion, no one can see what's going on the inside. They can only speculate, because this is new to them. So there's no earthly way of knowing what is exactly going on in that domain expansion until we go inside and see just Sukuna and Satoru for themselves. but we gotta wait until next week. Overall, I enjoyed this chapter, but it's like, it's left me wanting to know more. Like, they just love to dangle this sort of thing in front of me and make me think like, okay, we got a new chapter, but now I gotta think about this even more over the course of the week, because I do. But everyone, thank you for stopping by. I'm done with my reaction for today. This was a good chapter of Jujutsu, and I'm waiting. Can't wait to see what the next chapter holds for the rest of us. Once again, thank you for allowing me to be able to entertain you full-time as a full-time YouTuber for a full year. It's a lot to take in. I'm incredibly grateful for all of you, and thank you for the continued support of me living out my dream of being your entertainer. So, at the end of the day, all I can say is, hope you all enjoyed. Can't wait to see you all in my next video. And if you enjoyed what you saw here today, then please like, subscribe, share this stream with everyone you know, because the more the merrier. And because I am always looking forward to entertaining you. So have a fantastic day, and once again, as always, later, peoples!